Who always say I'm weird and everything. I got a lot of beating with broomsticks. All right. Again, the watchword for today is empowerment. We are going to leave here feeling stronger and better and more knowledgeable than any other time in our lives. That's why it's so important that the words that Dr. Murnell actually left you with, you just connect with others and take your place here in society. Our first speaker is from an organization that focuses on caregiving. It's all about the caregiver. It's called Elizz. And Elizz inspires children in their journey of assisting parents. You know, a lot of children are connected by their children and their parents. And Elizz is a place for the inspiration and all the tools that you need. That's why we have Miss Jennifer Boivin from Elizz. Big round of applause, please.
Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be asked to be here. Unfortunately, there's no clicker for the slides, so I'm going to have to stay here. So sorry if you don't see me. I don't want to stand, so I block everything from everybody. But so we're going to go over caregiving today and also some stuff that becomes part of your role as a caregiver. So we're going to start with, have you ever asked yourself, am I a caregiver? Many people who provide care to others don't really identify themselves as a caregiver. So we're going to go over a couple of questions and see if they resonate with you. Have you ever picked up cat litter on your to-do list and you don't even have a cat? You know someone else's banking information. You have skipped lunch to make a call and check in to see how somebody's doing. You have called in sick to work to take someone to a doctor's appointment. You've Googled memory loss, Alzheimer's, dementia, or some other medical condition. You found yourself distracted at work, wondering and worrying about the future care of someone. All these questions are realities of people who are caregivers. Caregivers are involved in many aspects of an individual's life, from basic housework to shopping, making meals, helping someone get dressed, to even more complex as monitoring medications, helping give injections. It's also just checking in on somebody on a regular basis or providing a listening ear or emotional support. Caregivers keep themselves safe and help people stay at home longer. So if you answered yes to any of those questions, you are a caregiver. A caregiver is a person who takes an unpaid caring role for someone who needs help because of a physical, cognitive, and or mental health condition, an injury, or a chronic life-limiting illness. The person who drives an elderly neighbor to his or her doctor appointment. The daughter who cooks and cleans her parents' home. The nephew that insists his aunt move in with the family so that he can help her with her medication and ensure her safety. The person that bathes and dresses his or her parents or spouse. The son or daughter who lives hours away from mom but calls daily to arrange for medical care. All these people plus more are family caregivers. You might be a caregiver to a partner, a spouse, a son, a daughter, family member, or even a neighbor if you're providing any type of assistance in their daily living. People often require assistance from family caregivers because of age, medical conditions, decline in overall health, an illness, or disability. Sometimes they'll ask you for help, but sometimes it'll be on you to recognize when they need that help. You may not see yourself as a caregiver, but rather someone simply taking a person and helping them with their needs, or fulfilling your responsibility as a wife, a daughter, a son. Depending on your situation, becoming a family caregiver may not be straightforward or natural. Sometimes you might feel obliged or pressured to take on the caregiving role, especially if you think you're the only one or the only person who's available to help them. For many, caregiving is a natural part of life. You often do not recognize yourself as a caregiver. Instead, you see yourself, again, as just the daughter, the husband, a grandchild. There are many benefits to caregiving. In 2012, Stats Canada actually did a portrait on caregivers and asked them some questions. 92% of caregivers felt that caregiving was rewarding, and 70% of caregivers felt that it actually strengthened their relationship with the person they were caring for. But there's also challenges with caregiving. Despite all the joys, there's also the reality that 28% of caregivers find that providing care for someone very stressful. Sometimes they're juggling their own family, work, other responsibilities. One in 5 caregivers said that their physical and emotional health suffered in the 12 months as a result of caregiving. And often this is because family caregivers are not recognized and they're not given the support that they need to fulfill their roles. Understanding the caregiving journey is something that was very personal to Elizz. We've have a whole research team that has looked into family caregivers and how we can provide support. So they've identified 5 stages of caregiving to reflect the associate number of hours, types of activities, and the experience of caregivers. The 5 stages go from the first one, helping, where you're providing about 1 to 10 hours a week. The involved, where you're between 11 to 20. Intensive, 21 to 40. All-encompassing is 41 plus hours. And then the closing. These, identifying yourself in which stage you are helps you prepare for the next stage and also helps you identify when you need to get support. A lot of us often only look for support when we get into the intensive stage. This is where we become, it's known as being reactive. So you're already all involved, you're committing a lot of time, so you're not prepared for what is coming. We hope to help people as identifying yourself as a caregiver earlier, that you're going to start looking for help in the helping stage, when the role starts to become, when you're doing those little tasks, where you're just picking up the groceries or you're just making those appointments. Because it's important to identify yourself earlier so you can get the support you need and not get all of the negative consequences that go with it. Today, supporting caregivers inside and outside organizations, because even the CLSC often don't come to the home to help you until you're in the intensive stage and you really need the support. So identifying early helps you in planning for the future, building skills, confidence to keep the caregivers healthy along the way. Closing is also an important stage that we need to recognize. Closing doesn't necessarily someone is passed on. Sometimes it's they've been placed into long-term care facility or it's a result of an injury, now they're doing better. But it's important to get support in the closing stage as well, because not only sometimes you've lost a loved one, but you've also lost an identity. When you've been providing caregiving for somebody for so long, when you come to the closing stage and you're no longer doing that role, as a person you start to forget who you were, because all of your time was committed to supporting them. So now it's time to look out and find new activities, new ways to start living your life as your role as a caregiver has ended. Often if we don't recognize ourselves as caregivers, we don't go looking for that help. So it's important to pick up on the signs early, and it's important to get the support early from your family and friends. But asking for help is not always easy. Just think of the following questions if you were a caregiver. Do you find it hard to ask for help? Do people often ask you, just tell me what I can do to help? Can I help? Anything I can do? Often as caregivers, we don't know how to answer these questions because we're so involved in it. We often feel like, oh, I know what's best. I know how to do it. Oh, it's just easier if I do it and I don't ask for help. But often the hours spent on caregiving tasks, it can get overwhelming and we don't start taking care of ourselves. And self-care is very important. We often don't even recognize the signs that you might need help or that you might need respite. All of these on the screen here are all signs that you might need help and that you should be looking for help. So even simple things like pains that seem to have no cause, headaches, stomach problems, sleepiness, teeth grinding, muscle tension, a lack of interest or awareness, strong emotions or mood swings, forgetfulness, an increased number of accidents, restlessness, changes in eating habits, a lack of energy, difficulty concentrating. All these are stresses related to the additional hours put on you as a family caregiver. So when your physical and emotional well-being is affected, you're more likely to get sick yourself. And how can you help the person that you're caring for if you get sick? It becomes increasingly difficult to provide good care when you're both mentally and physically exhausted. This doesn't mean you're a bad caregiver. It just means that you've reached your limits and you need to get some more resources to help you. You should feel proud that you're able to do and realize that you have the right to continue to make meaningful life for yourself as well. It's important to ask for help as a caregiver. In fact, it's the key to providing the best care possible and being an advocate on behalf of yourself and the person you're caring for. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Even if we plan well, an individual's condition may change unexpectedly, suddenly create the need for more intensive caregiving that might require you to ask for more help. There are many reasons why we find it difficult asking for help as caregivers, as we said. There's feelings of guilt and shame. I'm not able to do it. I can't believe I can't help mom or dad. Lack of understanding that others are in the same situation. I'm sure many of you in this room are all in similar situations and can lean on each other for support. Sometimes it's an inability to pay for formal caregiving services, or the lack of knowledge of what resources are available to you. Insufficient time to seek out support. Sometimes it's cultural issues, that is part of your culture that you take care of your parents. Lack of services to meet specific needs, or feelings of depression which can reduce the motivation and need to seek out support. Lack of comfort in communicating feelings. Research has revealed that many of health issues that we experience as caregivers can be attributed directly to the burden and stresses that caregiving duties demand. The role and responsibility of a caregiver can be very rewarding, but take care of yourself is the most important. You need to start with self-care. It has been noted that on the average, stress levels are higher and more medication are taken by caregivers than the average person not involved in caregiving. Caregiving experiences higher levels of stress and are most likely to don't take proper care of themselves. So we're going to look at some of the 7 caregiver rules to follow so you can start taking care of yourselves. Number 1, view caregiving in a positive light. Being prepared for the fact that caregiving may take up a lot of time and energy, but look for the silver lining may help you find the experience in a positive way. This might be an opportunity to build a newer and deeper relationship with that person you're caring for. Number 2, it's okay to say no. Don't be afraid to say no when you have your own plans, your own schedule, and it doesn't allow for one more item on your to-do list. Just don't want to take on this request, and it's okay to say no just to take some time for yourself. Number 3, if you need help, ask for it. This point can't be stressed enough. Family members and friends are often happy to assist, but don't know where to start. They don't know what you need help with or how to ask you if you need help. By being specific and asking for help, you might actually relieve any guilt that you might be feeling. So tell them,